The math is brutal. Every decade you wait to start investing seriously does not just delay your retirement, it can double the number of years you will have to keep showing up to work. But here's what I want you to stay for. By the end of this video, I'm going to give you the exact framework that people who actually retire early use, the number they target, the moves they make, and the traps that silently destroy most people's chances before they even realize it. So do not click away, because the stuff at the end of this video is what most personal finance content never talks about. Let us start at the very beginning. What does early retirement actually mean? We're not talking about winning the lottery. We're not talking about selling a startup or inheriting a fortune. We're talking about reaching a specific point where your money generates enough income to cover your lifestyle without you needing to trade your time for a paycheck. That point has a name. It's called financial independence, and the most important thing about it is that it has a number attached to it. The most widely used framework for calculating that number is called the 4% rule. Here's how it works. If you can live on 4% of your total invested portfolio each year, you are free. Your money is doing the work. You are not. So let's run the numbers. If your lifestyle costs $50,000 a year, you need $1.25 million invested. If it costs $80,000, you need $2 million. If it costs $100,000 a year, you need $2.5 million. The number sounds enormous until you realize there's a completely clear, repeatable path to get there, and that path depends heavily on one thing above everything else: time. Why starting early is not optional. Compound interest is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a get-rich-slowly but absolutely scheme, and it's ruthlessly dependent on time. The earlier you start feeding it, the more dramatic the growth becomes in the later years. Someone who starts investing aggressively at 25 will accumulate dramatically more wealth by age 50 than someone who starts at 35 making the exact same contributions, simply because of that one extra decade of compounding. This is not theory or motivational language. It is math. Pure, cold, indifferent math. And ignoring it is one of the most expensive financial mistakes a person can make, not because it feels dramatic, but because it happens silently, over years, without anyone noticing until it's too late to fully recover. This is why the single most valuable thing a young person can hear is not which stock to buy or which app to use. It is simply this: start now. Whatever you can manage, start now. What are the 4 things that actually have to happen? Let's get specific. Early retirement does not happen by accident. It happens because of a series of deliberate decisions made early and repeated consistently. Here are the 4 things that have to be in place. The first is knowing your number. This sounds obvious, but most people have genuinely never done this. They have a vague sense of their monthly bills, but they've never sat down and calculated what their life actually costs. Housing, food, transportation, insurance, entertainment, all of it. You cannot hit a target you've never defined. Before you can know how much to save, you need to know what number you're saving toward, and that requires honest, detailed accounting of your actual lifestyle costs, not your ideal lifestyle, not your bare minimum, your real life as it actually exists. The second is investing as early as humanly possible, and we mean actually investing, not just saving in a regular bank account where inflation quietly eats your purchasing power year after year. Maxing out tax-advantaged accounts like a 401k or an IRA has to become non-negotiable. These accounts are not glamorous. Nobody is posting about their IRA contributions on social media. But the tax benefits compound alongside your returns and dramatically accelerate how fast you reach your freedom number. And if your employer offers a matching contribution, not taking the full match is the equivalent of turning down part of your salary. There is almost no financial decision worse than that. The third piece, and this is where most people quietly fail without ever understanding why, is avoiding lifestyle inflation. Every time your income goes up, there is an almost magnetic pull towards spending more. Bigger apartment, nicer car, more vacations, upgraded everything. And none of it feels wrong in the moment because you earned it. You worked hard for it. The raise was real. But here is the reality. If every raise you ever receive gets absorbed by a higher lifestyle, your wealth never actually grows. Your paycheck grows, your stuff grows, your account balance stays roughly the same. Building toward early retirement means intentionally keeping your expenses from expanding at the same rate as your income and directing that gap into investments. The gap between what you earn and what you spend is the engine. Without a gap, there is no engine. The fourth requirement is building multiple income streams before you retire, not after. A single paycheck is fragile. One economic downturn, one health crisis, one round of layoffs, and that single income stream disappears. People who actually retire early typically have some combination of dividend-producing investments, rental income, or other revenue sources that do not require their daily presence. This does not happen overnight. It gets built over years of deliberate, patient work, but it has to be part of the plan from the beginning. Now, before we get to the pros and cons, I have to tell you this. There is one thing that derails more people than any of the four things I just listed. It's not a lack of income. It's not a lack of knowledge. It is comparison. It is watching the people around you upgrade their lives and feeling the pressure to keep up. It's the slow, invisible drain of spending money to signal a lifestyle rather than build a future. The people who retire early are almost never the highest earners in their social circles. They're the ones who quietly decided that their future freedom was worth more than their current appearance. That decision is hard to make and even harder to maintain, but it is the actual difference between the people who get there and the people who always mean to start next year. Now, let's discuss the real pros of early retirement. Let us talk about what you actually get if you pull this off, because the benefits are genuinely life-changing and worth fighting for. The most obvious one is time. When you retire early, you get decades back that most people spend sitting in traffic or staring at a screen in an office. You get your mornings. You get your health while you still have the energy to use it. You get to be present for the people and moments that matter. Time is the one resource that cannot be refilled under any circumstances, and getting more of it while you are still young is the entire point. The second pro is the elimination of financial stress. When your money is working for you and your expenses are covered, the low-level anxiety that most people carry about bills, job security, and unexpected emergencies simply dissolves. That mental bandwidth gets redirected toward everything else in your life. The cognitive load of financial pressure is real, and most people don't realize how much of their mental energy it is consuming until it's gone. The third pro is optionality. Early retirement does not mean you never work again. Many people who achieve it continue working, but on their own terms. They take on projects they actually care about. They start things they always wanted to try. They contribute without being obligated. That single distinction changes everything about how work feels.
Now, let's talk about the cons you cannot afford to ignore. The cons are real, so pay attention. The first is the sacrifice required to get there. Reaching financial independence early demands a level of intentionality and delayed gratification that runs completely counter to how most people around you are living. You will say no to things. You will drive the older car while your friends upgrade. You will make choices that feel uncomfortable in the moment, and you will feel the friction of being different from the people around you. That friction is consistent and real, and it does not disappear. The second con is something called sequence of returns risk. If you retire early and the market drops significantly in your first few years of retirement, it can permanently damage your portfolio's ability to recover. The 4% rule provides a buffer, but early retirees face a longer retirement horizon, which means early losses hit harder than they would for someone retiring at 65. This is a legitimate risk that requires careful planning and typically a more conservative withdrawal strategy in the early years. The third con is healthcare, especially if you're in the United States. If you retire before age 65, you are on your own for health insurance, and the cost is not trivial. It can easily run into thousands of dollars per month for a family. This needs to be built into your freedom number from the very beginning, not discovered as a surprise after you have already stopped working. The fourth con is identity. This one is uncomfortable, but it deserves to be said. For many people, work provides structure, social connection, and a sense of purpose. When that disappears without something meaningful to replace it, early retirement can feel surprisingly hollow. The people who thrive in early retirement usually have a clear, specific vision of what they're retiring toward, not just what they're escaping. Without that, the freedom can feel disorienting rather than liberating. Bringing it all together. The gap between someone who retires early and someone who works indefinitely rarely comes down to luck or salary. It comes down to decisions made early and repeated consistently. It comes down to defining your number, starting to invest before you feel ready, refusing to let lifestyle inflation absorb every income increase, building income sources that do not require your daily presence, and choosing your future self over your present comfort again and again and again. The pros are real. The freedom, the time, the elimination of financial anxiety, the ability to spend your one life on your own terms. These are worth working toward. The cons are also real. The sacrifice, the healthcare costs, the identity questions, the risks that come with a longer retirement horizon. Knowing both sides honestly is what separates people who build real plans from people who are inspired for a week and then default back to their old habits. Early retirement is not for everyone, but financial independence as an available option, as something you could actually reach, is available to anyone willing to start early and stay consistent. The math works. It always works. The question is whether you decide to use it. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. Before you go, drop a comment below and tell me, what is the single biggest obstacle standing between you and financial independence right now? Is it income, expenses, knowledge, discipline, or something else entirely? I read every comment, and your answer might just shape the next video. See you there.